Hello, everyone. What is going on? James here, and welcome back to the Banterous Hour, baby, with my co-host, Mr. Liam TGC.
Hello there.
I like the calendar, bro. The gnome with a massive beard in the background. Very nice.
Well, also called a gong.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of the Gonk droid. Yeah, very nice decor there.
Yeah.
But we are here today to discuss a cheeky movie. Well, not a cheeky movie, pretty serious and somewhat, kind of sad film in some aspects. Green Book, actually a very sad film in some aspects. So basically, some people say it's Oscar bait. Some people say it didn't deal with like situations that it was putting across in like much of a good manner. Like it didn't deal with. So actually, no, I'll go over the Oscar bait thing first. So with it being Oscar bait, well, I guess that's just down to what someone personally thinks. I think films that try ridiculously hard are like Oscar bait. You know what I'm saying? Like films that are just they just want to win an Oscar. You know, at least it felt like it had a story to tell. Even though it won an Oscar for Best Picture in 2018, it doesn't feel like it was trying that hard. And then I watched a lot of reviews on it, and people weren't really happy with how the film dealt with racism. I mean, I'm not the person to comment on like what a film dealt with went well or not when it comes to racism, but I do not think that the point of the film was to discuss racism and like how badly black people were treated in the 60s in America. You know what I'm saying? And the 50s. It wasn't about that. It seemed like it's more about a film about friendship. You know what I'm saying? It's more about the friendship between Shirley and Tony Lip, in my opinion. I feel like that it was trying to get across a film about two dudes from two completely different lives getting together, collaborating mentally, bouncing off each other in certain aspects, and yeah, just you know, about two dudes becoming lifelong friends. That's what I think. I think the film's main theme was friendship. I don't think it was trying to have a, like I don't think it was a film that was just purely about racism in America. I think it was trying to be more about brotherhood and friendship, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, I think maybe, I suppose, and I suppose there's the fact that that they've both sort of face, I guess, prejudice and discrimination as well,
Yeah,
based off so there's Shirley, and who's the Italian called again? What's his
Tony
name?
Lip.
That's it, and Tony, yeah, because Tony being Italian and Shirley being black, they're I suppose, I guess, I suppose Italians face some discrimination back then in America as well, I suppose, and as well as black people. But yeah, I suppose it's, two people from two different backgrounds, but again, who also both face discrimination in, perhaps different ways. But yeah, like you said, that they strike up a good friendship, and yeah.
And I think it's interesting how both characters change throughout the film. You know, I really like the journeys that they go on. Like we have Tony Lip at the start. You know, he's a dude who's just a bit of a schemer and a scammer, and as he says, a bullshitter. You know, but he's like, "I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar." You know, he's just like, "I get people to do what I want them to do." You know, and it's like, I bullshit them into it. You know, which it's which is fair enough. But like at the start of the film, you know, he's a security guard for the Copacabana Club. I think that's what it's called. And one of these old geezers comes in. I think he's like a high up in the mafia, and he's like, "Pardon me, look after my hat. You know I can't lose that hat. I can't lose that hat. It means the world to me. It means the world to me. I can't lose that hat." And then Tony Lip's like, "Come on, give it to me. Give it to me, darling. Give me that. Give me that hat." And then he has the hat, and then the mafia boss is going ballistic, going, "I can't believe it!" You know, he's going absolutely mad. He's like, "I want that hat. I'm going to tear this place to the ground." You know, and then and we know Tony's taking it, and then he returns it to the mafia bosses because it gives him good favor with them. You know what I'm saying? It helps him climb that ladder of gangsters, and he's in their good books. So if they need a favor off of him, or he needs a favor off of them, you know, they can both scratch each other's backs. It's a good way for Tony to get into the mafia circle from basically from nothing. He was just like a security guard before, and he beat up some mafia dude who was causing a big raucus, who was fighting in there. And because of his friendship with the other mafia dudes, it pretty much got sorted out. So you know, he's a complete bullshitter and a schemer at the start. And also he's prejudiced himself. You know, when there was two black geezers in the house doing some work, he chucks the glasses away after they used them, and then his wife Dolores gets the glasses out of the bin afterwards. So you know, it shows that Tony's a bit prejudiced himself. He's a bit of a tit. You know, he's a bit daft. So that's a journey that he can go on as well, and some of that he has to overcome. For the intro of the film, though, I do wish we got to have an intro for Dr. Shirley as well. It feels like you have all this stuff with Tony, which is interesting stuff, but then we just see Shirley at the interview where he's interviewing Tony and saying, you know, "I'm not a real doctor," you know, and all that jazz. And he's just like, "Well, I'm a musician and I want someone to drive me all over the country." And then Tony's like, "Come on, Doc, if you want a protection and a tough guy around, I can solve it for you. But if you want some guy to iron your shoes, then iron your shoes. I mean, iron your clothes and clean your shoes, then well, I'm not that guy, Doc." And then he walks off, you know. But obviously, he gives the Vallelonga house a call, and then his wife Dolores is like, "Oh, hello, hello. Oh, you want to borrow my husband for a bit?" You know, and yeah, then Tony ends up going on the road, and you know, he's a bit of a tit, really. Like he's the driver of the car, and he expects I don't know the bloke, I can't remember the guy's name, but his butler, Dr. Shirley's butler, he gets him to chuck all the suitcases in the back of the car. Yeah,
Can't remember his name.
me neither. He doesn't really have much to do in the film, to be fair, that guy. So yeah, they're on the road. But what do you think of the big intro sequence?
Yeah, I would say I like it as well. Sets up, I suppose, you know, I think it sets up the film nicely, and again, like you said, you know, what is he called? Tony again? Sorry.
Tony Vallelonga, yeah, Tony Lip.
Yeah. Of course, he's not, you know, the not necessarily the best person at the start, and
Mm,
you know, like you said, he's a schemer and whatnot, and but you know, he knows what he's doing, and but again, like you said as well, he is prejudiced himself towards black people, I suppose, and um, but at the same time, it just shows that you know, this is the person he used to be, but then of course, as we know later on as the film progresses, you know, he develops as a character, and you know, I guess, you know, thanks to his friendship with Shirley, you know, he
mm-hmm.
becomes a better person, I suppose, and I suppose he gets to understand what uh, sort of position Shirley's in as well, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, I suppose, yeah, yeah, like I said, just becomes, I guess, yeah, just a better person thanks to, you know, meeting someone else from a completely different walk of life, and who I suppose is, you know, I suppose he's doesn't know where he belongs. You know, he's not really, you know, he faces prejudice and discrimination from white people, but also, you know, black people, or at least, you know, they, he doesn't necessarily fit in with them either and their sort of communities. I
Yeah,
suppose it's like,
because when they were playing, I can't remember what game. There was a group of people playing like some sort of game outside the motel, and then he's like, "Oh, come on, can you help us out, Doctor Shirley? We need." Well, he didn't say Doctor Shirley, but like, "Can you help us out, man? We need you." He's like, "No, I don't play that." He's like, "Come on, come on." He's like, "No, I don't do that, thank you." And it's like he's had a chance to have some sort of social interaction instead of just drinking all the time, instead of drinking whiskey all the time, and he just turns it down, which is a bit of a shame, really. But I feel like with Dr. Shirley's journey throughout the film, he's trying to prove a point. He's trying to make some sort of change, in America in the 50s and 60s. He's trying to prove that, that he can go and perform in all these areas, even if there's a bunch of racist, crazy people. He is going to go and do it anyway, despite the risk of performing in the Deep South, So that's his journey, and that's why he needs Tony. It's just sad that his band sort of like, the trio, the other two dudes, the German and the American guy, they both just sort of kiss the boot of the establishment. It's quite sad, really. They're like you meant to be a trio, guys. Come on, why aren't you backing your mate? But yeah, every time when there's an issue, the German and the American guy just sort of are like, we wash our hands of this. We're not bothered. While Tony sort of he does get quite annoyed because he doesn't see the point of, like Dr. Shirley being treated this way. He just sees it as completely wrong. But I'll go over some of the conversations that they have that I like. I like the conversation about like fried chicken. How Tony's like, well, if you said all Italians enjoyed spaghetti and meatballs, I wouldn't care. And then Dr. Shirley's like, well, you see, I am, you shouldn't just stereotype that I'm going to enjoy KFC. You shouldn't stereotype that. And then Tony's like, Tony says he's a bit, Shirley says he's a bit. And the film, with all these discussions that they have, it's like also the name discussion when he's like, Tony, Vallelonga might be a bit difficult to pronounce. What about you? Why don't you? Why don't I can't remember what he said, but he wanted him to he wanted to change his surname pronunciation or change his surname for the event so it's easier to pronounce. But Tony's like, no. If they can't pronounce Vallelonga, my name, then just call me Tony. That's fine. And then he said, "Oh, you need to speak more proper, and because these are like rich intellectual people, you need to speak more proper and do this and do that and don't swear and all that jazz." And he's like, "Oh, why are you putting this all on me? I'm just some guy who's, coming to work for you." And again, with all the discussions in this film that they have, all these back and forths, the film is not trying to tell you which one of them is right. It's just they're both giving you a point of view, and it's up to the audience to decide who they believe is right. And sometimes I think Tony makes a better case. Sometimes I think Don Shirley makes a better case. They both make good points about what their discussions are. It's not just some boring, oh, this character's right all the time and this other character's just a dumbass who has no good points. You know what I'm saying? Like Don Shirley's good at talking to people and he's extremely talented and good at performing, but Tony's like good at getting out of situations and BSing people. Like when Don's getting beaten up in that bar, Tony. Well, at the start of the film, he's pretending to have a gun. We think he's pretending to have a gun. He says, "Look," and when he's like, "Releasing boys now," and then the guy's like, "Say it nicely," and he says, "That was nice." And I thought, "Damn, what a badass." And he's like, and then Don Shirley's like, "Have you got a gun?" And he's like, "No, of course I haven't." But then at the end of the film, when Don Shirley plays piano in that other bar. He plays piano in a different bar, but obviously in that bar he doesn't play piano. The one he was getting beaten up in, he whips his gun out and just shoots it in the air. Then these two geezers who were trying to rob the car run off. So he did actually have a gun. That was a nice twist. That actually shocked me. I was like, oh, but it was like it was a good shock. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just like a jump scare where there's no one there. Then you go, whoa! It was like a proper good. It was a proper good jump scare for me. Anyway, I really like that one. But yeah, they're bouncing around, going to different places, having interesting discussions. I like how Don Shirley is a man of moral principle. Even over the littlest things. Tony robs one of the rocks from one of the stores that they go to, and then Don Shirley's like, "Put it back now, put it back, or I'll buy you the rock." And he's like, "You're taking all the fun out of it," even though Tony does actually smuggle the rock anyway. Then Don Shirley at the end, he's like, "Here's your lucky. Why don't you put your lucky rock on there to get us home sooner?" Which was pretty funny.
Mm.
One criticism though that I could understand why people might not enjoy this film, it just kind of feel like they just keep going from place to place to place to place, and the same thing happens. Like Don Shirley has someone be an idiot to him, and then Tony comes in and saves the day. But I just like all their dialogue exchanges, and it's not just like the same situation. It's not just the same. It's not just people beating him up over and over again. It might be someone saying something nasty to him or telling him you can't do this or you can't do that or you need to leave. You need to do. You can't do this. You can't do that. Because like there's one situation where those blokes are beating him up, and then there's another situation where he is basically doing gay stuff with a bloke in
Oh
some
yeah,
toilet
yeah.
somewhere, and then the police arrest him, and pardon me, and then Tony basically bullshits them and pays them off. But then Don Shirley's like, they treated me horribly, and you paid them off. And he's like, yeah, but I'm meant to get you from A to B. I'm meant to get you from A to B. I'm meant to get you out of trouble, and get you where you need to be, But like, and those are both two good points. Like those police were basically just being twats, but yet it's the only way that Shirley was getting out of that situation. And at the time, the only way his career wouldn't have been, ruined, is if Tony did what he did, and that's Tony scheming coming in handy. Also, I think he changes. No, he doesn't change a wheel, but he fixes the car. And Don Shirley, he's not a handyman; he's just a piano man, as Billy Joel says. Yeah, but I've talked for a while, Liam. Have you got any thoughts on all the stuff that happens in the middle of the film?
I mean, yeah. I suppose that I agree with a lot of what's said. What you said. I suppose. Was it? Would you say it was like the middle of the film where they get to that big house as well in the deep south, that plantation house, or
Um,
was
oh
that like the
yeah,
middle?
is that when he can't eat in the restaurant, and then Tony gets quite annoyed?
Yeah, and then he wants to go to the toilet as well, and they won't let him use
Oh,
the
they tend to
toilet
go in
in
the
the
shed, didn't
house.
they? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think is it Tony sort of doesn't Don Shirley doesn't he decide how he's not having this and he leaves or
That's it. Yeah, Tony
I
has to
think
drive him. I think the bathroom and the restaurant situation are two different situations. So the bathroom situation, he's like, "Well, I don't want to go in a garden," and then they're like, "Oh, well, there's a place down that's a 30-minute drive if you want to go there. There's a place that's a
mm,
30-minute drive if you want to go there, sir." And then Tony Lip has to drive him 30 minutes. And yeah, fair play to Don Shirley for sticking by his guns.
yeah, yeah, I suppose that was one. I suppose I suppose there are numerous examples, but yeah, one of the examples of the racism and discrimination that he faces.
The restaurant one, though, I think that was more towards the end. And he's like, "Oh, well," Tony's like, "Wait, hello, lads." And then he's eating with the German bloke and the other American bloke. And then Don Shirley's not allowed to come in. And then Tony's like, "Oh, come on, this guy's a star of the show, and you're really not going to make this one exception for him. Come on, just let him have eat a meal here. What the hell is your problem?" And then these other people are just being complete morons. And then Tony, Don Shirley's like, "Yeah, I want to eat in here. This is ridiculous." And then
mm,
the bloke says, "Look, try and I'll pay you money. Just convince Shirley to not be allowed to eat in here." And then, oh yeah, by the way, when I said exception, because I want to cover myself, because I know George likes to bloody re-edit things and out of context things. I'm just saying they made. Tony's asking, can you make this exception in this one instance because they don't allow black people to eat there, which is really messed up. Obviously, anyone should be allowed to eat anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. just in case George bloody out of context it and bloody mashes it all up and destroys it and YTPs it. Actually, he'd have a barrel of a laugh with this podcast. He'd make us look, if he wanted to, he'd bloody make us look like the most crazy, idiotic people ever. With all the, he could mix up the words and make us sound like bloody Stalin or Hitler. Horrible. But yeah. Anyway, so so Tony like goes and pushes him against the wall because he's like, I'm not going to be bribed. Even though it's ironic because Tony's been bribes everyone else, but obviously Tony, most of the time, is bribing for the greater good. I'd like to think anyway. You know, like who did he bribe those 2 police officers? That was to get Don Shirley from A to B. So it's more on the positive side of bribing. Well, this was just negative and lame. So the side of bribing. And then Don Shirley's like, no, Tony, don't do it. Let's leave. And then they're like, no, how dare you? How dare you leave? How dare you? How dare you leave this establishment? You know, it's just so lame that the trio don't stick up for Don, man. They're such bloody snakes in the grass. It's so lame. You know, it's just so cringy that they never stick up for their main man who's the main star of the show. You know, it's horrible. It feels like they're not a real team.
Going back to what you said at the earlier on, you know, they don't stick around his bandmates, but or whatever. But you know, Tony, he's always there, isn't he? You know, because I suppose as he's the driver as well, and he's working for him. But you know, he's always there and he sticks around. And it shows that he cares as well, though. You know, he does care about him and what happens to him, and so it makes, I suppose, it makes Tony, I suppose, all the more likable, I guess, and a character you can continue to support, throughout the film.
The thing is, as well, it's interesting, you see their friendship evolve because you got the 2 Italian geezers talking to Tony saying, we got some jobs for you in Italian, and Tony's just sort of laughing and joking with them and sort of like berating Dr. Shirley slightly to get the Italian blokes off his back. And then Don Shirley's like, basically he speaks Italian to Tony, and then Tony's like, oh, damn. And then Don Shirley's like, I'll pay you loads of money to be my manager and all this stuff. And he's like, no need to. I've already agreed on what I'm doing for you, mate. Don't you worry. So that was pretty cool. It shows Tony's loyalty to him, how he doesn't want extra money. He doesn't want to be Don Shirley's manager. He's happy driving him from A to B and being his strong backup man.
Yeah, that's good.
I love the scene. I don't know I think the piano's called a Steinbeck. I'm not sure. I probably got that wrong, but I like when he backhands that bloke in, I think it's in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure, but he backhands a bloke for not getting the correct piano and sort of like slagging off, having a go at Tony. That's quite funny.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I like the scene when he's going on about Titsboig. They told me it's called Titsboig because the women there have such big tits. And then I think at the end he says Titsboig wasn't all that. So that was pretty funny. What other cool stuff was there? Again, the scene when he performs in that other bar was brilliant. He impresses that lady who's like, don't tell me who you are, show me who you are. That was pretty cool. Showing off his skills. And showing it off to the general public and not just like the bloody richest, people in society, like showing it off to the general public. That was pretty cool. I like the scene when they get arrested as well. That was really interesting. Now, Tony gets a bit of discrimination for being Italian, and then Tony slaps him, and then they get put in prison, and then he rings
up. I think he punches him, to be fair. I think he punches
him,
in the face, yeah.
And he rings up one of the Kennedys to help him out. And Tony's like, bloody hell, you got all this sorted. Great, amazing. And he's like, well, I have to deal with this every day of my life and all that jazz. And then Tony's like, oh, well, I've come up the hard way. Pardon me. I've been broke and all this stuff. And all this stuff I've had to scrimp and scrounge and work my ass off. And then Don Shirley's like, well, I don't fit in anywhere. And I goes on a bit of an outburst to him. It's such amazing acting from both of them. That was Don Shirley feels completely alone. It feels like he doesn't fit in anywhere. That was great. And then we get the final sequence where they're trying to drive and get back to New York on time. And you think to yourself, oh man, you know, the police officer again, not another situation, but the police officer's like, oh, your tire's flat, mate. We'll pump that up for you, don't worry. Or we'll help you replace your tire. That's fine. Get the tire out the back. And then I like the ending sequence, how you think Don Shirley isn't going to go to Tony's for Christmas, and and then you think, oh man, he's on his own. That's so sad. At least Tony's with his family, and Tony's changed. You know, some of the family are like, oh, you're quiet and all this stuff, and then they call him something lame, Don Shirley, and they're like, oh, don't call him that. You know, he's a good bloke. And then someone knocks on the door, and it's that little bloke who Tony sold the watch to earlier. And then you're like, oh, brilliant, easy. And then someone else knocks on the door, and it's Shirley, and everyone's like, hey, and they're all really respectful to him, which is nice. And good happy ending, good film about friendship, brotherhood. And personally, I really love it. I find it such an easy watch, so easy to get through. It's just like a nice little, very wordy, smart film. I'd honestly give it. I'd say it's. You know, I'll be fair. I'd personally give it like a 10, but it's probably, objectively speaking, it's probably just a great film. I'd say 8.5 out of 10. But personally, I really love it. If I'm not looking at it objectively through a film buff lens, I'd say I absolutely love it. It's just such an easy watch. I like the bouncing of the characters, bouncing off each other. Some minor improvements, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the family could have been a bit more, but it was a tale based on a true story. Well, sorry, not a tale. It was based on a story based on a true story about Don Shirley and Tony Lip being mates. You know what I'm saying? That was the most like, that was what it was about, friendship, really. So yeah, I think it's great. Really enjoy it. What else did I want to say about it? I'm trying to think now. I guess there isn't really much else to say. I like when Don Shirley helps him with the letter to Dolores. That was really nice. Yeah, I guess that's most of I've got to say about the film. But obviously, right now, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Just trying to think of what else I can add. Really. Well, yeah, that was that was heartwarming at the end. Like I say, where he does actually show up to Tony's house to have, was it Christmas dinner with them, and they're welcoming as well. And I suppose his wife always seemed to be. It seemed like she wasn't sort of prejudiced and in the first place, or at least based off what she was like at the start of the film as well. Because I think, because like you said, I think didn't he throw those glasses away that had been handled by black people or something, but she took them out of the bin. And yeah, I suppose there was a heartwarming, I guess, as well, exchange between Shirley and Tony's wife as well. So yeah, that was it was. I thought it was an appropriate way to end the film, and yeah, it was a good happy ending. Just trying to think what else. There is. I suppose, like you said, I suppose it is it is an easy watch too. It's I suppose you could say it's like a kind of an uplifting film in a way, I guess. I suppose, everything turns out all right despite the I was trying to think of the word, but despite like um I suppose the adversities that they face, and well, I suppose again, like you said, I suppose at the core of the film, it's about friendship um, and I guess they both teach each other things, and help each other grow as people, and um, I suppose, but again, yes, it does tackle serious topics as well, like racism, and because of the uh, the era that the film was set in. But At the same time, yeah, it is. I suppose it is good as well. It makes it an easier watch too because of all the humour that's in it too. So it's it's yeah, I suppose it's it's a you do go on a real journey with the two characters, and it is a roller coaster, and but yeah, I suppose yeah, it's like I say, yeah, it's a good watch, delightful film, and but at the same time, as it is focused on those serious topics, some of those moments, I guess, are shocking when they happen, but I guess not. I guess they shouldn't really be surprising either. Um, but yeah, I think that all of that's handled well. I think, and again, you said at the start how some people online maybe don't think that serious topics were handled well, but I don't know. I disagree personally, but you know, each to their own, I guess. Yeah, don't know. Not sure that I've got much more to say, but yeah, yeah, it's an enjoyable film, really, and yeah, I think I can see why it did win an Oscar. And like you said, I don't think it necessarily tries too hard either to be an Oscar winner. It doesn't come across maybe like one of those films, maybe in terms of its production value, even though the film does look good. It's it doesn't seem like it's trying to be something special, I suppose. But yeah, there you go. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't. They don't all have to be. And yeah, I suppose it was a worthy winner of Best Picture at the Oscars. So yeah, overall good film, and I'll probably agree with your score as well. I'll probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. I'd say.
Fair enough. Well, that was our review of Green Book. Yeah, I guess one last thing I wanted to mention. I think the film probably should have been given a different title because it doesn't talk about the Green Book or go over anything that Green Book had in it, really. I suppose Shirley was probably looking at it for guidance to, you know, travel around the deep south in that time period. But yeah, I think the film should have been called something else, to be honest. But yeah, it is what it is. It's yeah, great film, great film. Could have been called Two Geezers on the Road. Something fun.
Oh, that'd be funny, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, all I got to say about that. Let's move on to a few segments. Or have you got anything you want to add before we bounce to the segments?
No, don't think so.
All right then. So let's move on to. So Liam, how much to go on Strictly Come Dancing with George? And you don't
Oh
have to do
god.
any. You don't have to do anything bizarre with him, but you do have to dance and hold hands and go. But apart from that, you don't like the dance though. Apart from a bit of ballroom dancing, you can make everything up yourself. So you can like do dances where you don't have to hold hands and just do like some cool Michael Jackson dance, or you know, but
Mhm.
you can do what you want apart from a little bit of ballroom dancing. The only other stipulation is for the theme instead of that they record you going. So that's the so that's the intro for that specific episode. All right then, so we'll start with uh 800 quid.
No.
3 grand.
No.
uh, 5 grand.
No.
For real, Liam, that's an easy 5 grand. All you got to do is do a little bit of ballroom dancing with George, and then bow, 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 bow. Like you can do some cool dancing after that, and then yes, yes, yes in the theme, yes, yes, no in the theme. All right, what else? What else? 9 grand. Come on, 9 grand. Liam, that's the easiest. Bloody hell. 30 grand.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Keep going.
35 grand.
No, bit more.
41,000 pounds.
No.
What? 50 grand.
I suppose, sure.
Hey.
I guess I
Bro.
was tempted. I was tempted to go into like 100,000, but
What?
I think 50 will be all right. Yeah.
What? Oh, bloody hell. Liam, I'd do it for bloody 2 grand. Like, bro, that's an easy 2 grand. I'd think it'd be hilarious going for the theme. That'd be brilliant. And all you have to do is quickly ballroom dance with George, and the rest of the dance can be a badass dance, a proper cool bad boy dance, bam, 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 proper bad man dance you could get going.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll bring back this old segment. This or an MG? This is the segment where I say, would you rather
That's really fun.
do this or drive an MG? And I mean, Aaron, I think we did it in the segments podcast actually, the finale for the ALP podcast, where I think I said, like, would you rather get a bare arse rikishi stink face or have an MG? And I think Aaron picked the rikishi stink face. I was like, bloody hell. And I picked the MG. I don't mind the hassle of a car breaking down. It's annoying, but it's whatever. And I think you picked the MG as well. Let me. All right. George Lucas does a new edit of Star Wars where you're Jabba the Hutt. It's just your normal skinny body as Jabba the Hutt, and you go Nisa Biba Dooku Solo and all that jazz, and going ha 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 ha. So would you rather be in the new edition of Star Wars 2025, or would you
as Jabba? Yeah.
Or would you rather own an MG?
I'd rather own an MG.
What? You'd pick an MG again? Come on. I'd pick the Star Wars. It'd be hilarious. Solo.
Of course you would.
That'd be brilliant.
It's not you, is it? It's me. All the more entertainment for you, yeah.
No. So you wouldn't want to be a part of Star Wars? A Star Wars?
We don't need this. We don't need like the original trilogy being, degraded further with change like that. God.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, it wouldn't be degraded. It'd be enhanced, you madman. It'd be brilliant.
Well, it's. I can't even think of what I was going to say. I was trying to think of the word, but it's a matter of opinion. Yeah. Debatable.
Well, I'd pick the Jabba the Hutt thing within an instant. That'd be hilarious.
Of course. So predictable.
But we should call this segment from now on "This or an MG." That's brilliant.
Really? You're going to use an impression of me again for another segment? Another segment. Yeah. I think one is enough. I think one is like actually kind of, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to. You got to give me some respect. I'm just doing this as an example. I'm not making a joke, but I haven't done a robot joke, and I haven't done a Ewan McGregor joke, have I? This podcast. So I've stuck to my word on that because I want this podcast to be a better, wholesome podcast rather than it just degrading into robot and Liam and Ewan McGregor kissing, ha ha, and the sausage lightsaber. I don't want it to degrade into a load of degenerate rubbish again. George bloody made that happen though last time. I tried so hard to avoid it. I thought, no, we're going to be sensible. James, don't be an idiot. Don't do anything stupid. Don't make a stupid Star Wars joke here. Don't make a robot joke here. And then George bloody gets the picture of you and Ewan McGregor. And I honestly, again, I've never seen one of those kissing. Actually, no, I had seen him before, but I thought he was going to do like your mouth moving and then Ewan McGregor's mouth moving and like some silly impression. But instead, it was you and Ewan McGregor kissing.
Of
So, and
course, yeah.
even though I found it funny and played it a load of times, it's because I didn't expect it. I didn't want the podcast to devolve into that, but I thought this is just too funny.
Yeah,
But it
but
is,
you know, you did find it funny. That's why you were
yeah.
playing it a lot. Let's be
I
honest.
was laughing.
Yeah.
But
So,
obviously,
but you
but
know,
that,
when you have George on these things, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen,
yeah.
do you? So it's a very it's quite the big risk. Yeah.
Yeah, and you and him are co-hosts of this podcast, so it's a bloody it is a big risk making him a co-host, but
God, yeah.
there
But
you go. It's
on you.
it is on me. It's the choice I made. I mean, he nearly
Yeah.
got completely fired from the podcast a few weeks ago. Completely fired because he
Mm.
uploaded a private conversation to the Callum's Corner Reddit before we were starting a live stream. I was just doing some silly impressions of Mini Tom and Jersey, and he uploaded it there just for a bit of clout. And I did get quite annoyed, to be fair. I was like, bro, I don't appreciate this at all. Take it down now. I don't want any private conversations being out there. And in the end, he did take it down. But like that was nearly the end of any podcast ever again with George. Like I would have still been mates with him, but I wouldn't have done any like Discord calls or any calls with him because I don't want to be joining calls with friends, long-time friends. I mean, I've known this dude since 2007, so he's like one of probably my oldest friend who I still have a laugh with. But I've known him earlier than 2007. I think I first knew him in like 2004, 2005. No, 2005 it was, I think. And I became mates with him in 2007. This is like the oldest friend I've got, recording private conversations. It's not on, so the podcast would have just been me and Liam, and probably no more robot jokes or Ewan McGregor jokes. But
Yeah.
that would have been good in that aspect, and no more risking the podcast getting banned. But fortunately,
Mm.
George stuck to his guns and took the podcast out. I mean, took that specific clip down, and I hammered home the point. I said to him loads, and you can back me up on this because you saw in the group chat. I said to him, "You've got hundreds of hours of footage of me acting daft and saying all this silliness. You can upload all that to the Reddit. It doesn't bother me. It's public footage. But when it's a private conversation, that's sacred and that's secret, you know." So, I mean, think about all the stuff George has said in private that I could bloody upload and make him look daft with. He said some mad stuff in. I know everyone said mad stuff in private, but George has gone a bit mad in private sometimes. You know. So I never, but even if it was the most tame, basic stuff or the crazy stuff, I'd never upload a private conversation ever because I find it immoral personally.
Mm.
But I thought I don't know why I went on that tangent. I just thought it's a funny story to bring up, like how George nearly got sacked from being the co-host after one episode. Oh, brilliant.
Mm.
I know he's nearly deterred you from his podcast in some aspects because that podcast we did on his channel, I mean, you weren't a fan at all. This is the first time ever that you've just turned your camera off and muted your mic on that
Well,
episode.
for like lengthy periods, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's just because it's like, you know, the really sort of edgy stuff, but it's like really sort of like risky as well. And yeah, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to really be on a podcast with that sort of stuff and all, you know.
yeah. I mean, the
Yeah.
thing is, I've said to George a million times. I mean, my justification for being on his podcast, if he's having some really edgy stuff on there, I just say, look, I've said to George, he can do as long as he's not putting horrendous, stupid, edgy stuff on this podcast. He can do what he wants within reason. It's not my problem. I'm not a co-host. I'm just of his podcast. I just come on his podcast and have a laugh. But I do understand why you wouldn't want to be associated with his podcast because it is a bit risky. But all you've got to do is use the argument that it's his podcast. I don't agree with his edginess and saftness, but at the end of the day, it's his podcast and that's what he's going to do. It's the onus is on him. That's why I get so paranoid about George doing stupid stuff on the original ALP podcast and this new podcast that we got now, because I think to myself, like, at the end of the day, the onus is on me. I'm the host. It's my responsibility to make sure that the co-hosts and guests aren't saying ridiculous, stupid, edgy stuff to make the podcast look completely degenerate and saft, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, yeah, that's the thing. I'd rather not be on podcasts or episodes of, say, his podcast where where there's going to be stuff like that, or we're going, they're going to be watching videos with really risky humor and stuff like that in. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest though, I was laughing at some of the jokes, but obviously some of the jokes I didn't find that funny. It's when things catch me off guard that I find a bit funny usually, and it subverts my expectations. But to be honest, with the thing is with that special on his channel, the Christmas special, in my mind, I thought to myself, okay, he wants to continue the tradition of ALP podcast, even though this is technically like GC ALP. Every year, let's go on it and see what he does. It's all down to him. I'm not going to come up with any ideas for it. I want to save all my material for this podcast. And I get that he doesn't have any segments he wants to use on his podcast, but I think there was a few random convos, then we watched a trailer, and then it was just reacting to YTPs over and over again. And while I found it funny, I didn't think it would be. I did feel a bit bad for you because it isn't something that you enjoy. You're not a fan of like daft YTPs anyway, so I think he should have first off mixed up the segments more and had interesting things, or maybe got a tier list up, or just anything, or just anything else instead of just reacting to something over and over and over again. He could have got a tier list, a quiz, played a bit of GeoGuessr. I don't know, just anything else rather than just watching or reacting to like some interesting Star Wars stuff or an interesting review or an old video that any of us have made. You know what I'm saying? Not just like the same old jazz over and over and over again and keep reacting to the same crap. Because I know, again, in the past, obviously, you have turned your mic off and camera off to go and do stuff, but you haven't done it for that lengthy period of time because of what was on the podcast, to my knowledge, anyway. So I think he needs to improve what he's doing, definitely. Because if the podcasts are just reacting to Callum's Corner YTPs, or if they devolve into that, then I'm not really. I mean, I'd rather react to a variety of stuff, not just the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. It just depends on if he, if he wants to change how he does things on his podcast, and mix up the segments a bit. But
yeah, definitely, because with the things he's doing on his podcast, it could. I mean, first off, it's running the ALP name into the ground, but again, the ALP channel, there's nothing I can do about that. What's happening with that? I can only archive the podcast. So he's running the last bit of the ALP name into the ground, but that's whatever. I'm not going to really say you can't use ALP, you can't use that acronym, blah blah blah. You can't use those 3 letters. How dare you? Like it, bro. It's whatever. I've got this new Banterous Hour podcast, so it's fine. So he's running that into the ground, but also he's risking himself. He's with the silliness he's putting on there. He's risking potentially trying to get a job, even though he lives off the dime. He could get in big trouble for the things that he puts on there. He could just run his reputation into the ground, So it really isn't worth the risk. And it's not funny. Like a fair bit of the stuff isn't funny. It's just like too far over the line.
Yeah. But I don't know. For some reason he likes a lot of that humour. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting discussion there. Now on to job slobs. So for this one, I don't have like a specific job for you, but I have 2 job scenarios. So would you rather have a job that you're passionate about, but you don't make mega money, but you make enough to get by? Or would you rather have a job where like the contract's amazing, but you're not passionate about what you do, but you got a brilliant contract, like let's say a decent pension, pretty great pay, like you can have 6 months sick pay. You have, I don't know, more than the average time off that we get in England or get in the UK. So which would you pick? The passionate job where you don't have as much job security, but you're enjoying yourself, or the job that has more security and a brilliant contract, but you're not enjoying it as much? Yeah. And you get to do those jobs forever, like for the rest of your life. You don't get sacked or anything.
That is a difficult one because with that, with the second option, which is a job that I'm not maybe passionate about or not so much, I do get all those perks, those benefits, but but then it might be something I don't necessarily enjoy, but it'd be for the rest of my life. But then with the first job, I suppose there's no guarantee that I guess uh, I would be kept on. I suppose there's no guarantee that I wouldn't be, laid off. It's something that I, would be more passionate about, even though I wouldn't get paid so much. But um, I don't know. It's a difficult one, but I probably would still rather have a job that I'm passionate about, I guess, even though I wouldn't be earning as much and my job security is up in the air.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Well, I'd personally go for the other one, just because I'd rather get more money and just do what I enjoy as a hobbyist. You know what I'm saying? Like, as much as I'd love to
Yeah,
be a
yeah,
YouTuber, like I'd rather just sort of, keep it as a hobby and do it on the side when I can and get more money in. You know what I'm saying? You can retire
mm,
early so you can focus on your passions then if you're lucky enough to make to retirement age. I just rather do that. It's just like, more money, you can do more stuff, support the ones you love more. I just think that's
yeah.
better for me personally, but I don't blame you for chasing your passions because you only get one life and nothing's guaranteed, You only get
Well, again, now I can understand why you've gone for that one because it was a really hard decision.
yeah,
But again, I can understand that though. Yeah, can see
yeah,
both
man.
ways, definitely.
Another segment then. Movies recently watched. So this is a segment where we say the film that we've most recently watched. I'll go first. So I'm currently watching The Witness. I'm about 1 hour 10 into it. I don't want to spoil anything.
No, I was going to say, sorry. Is that the one with Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
I have seen it.
Oh, what do you think then? Without spoiling it.
Um, I think I enjoyed it. I think for the most part, yeah. To be fair,
Fair dues.
yeah. I think the ending was a bit maybe. I don't know. I think it's one of those films again, though, where it's not maybe the longest, but I suppose it's kind of a conclusive ending. But then certain things maybe that were perhaps established earlier on in the film aren't necessarily tied up, or
Okay.
maybe certain little things, or it's left up in the air. You could say to maybe to your imagination, but so it's kind of like a bit of an abrupt ending in a way, kind of. But I think I'm pretty sure I still enjoyed it really for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how much it grossed in cinema. Budget was 12
I mean,
million, 116 million made. I don't see why they didn't do a second
okay.
film then if there was some loose ends that needed to be tied up.
Well, what I'm referring to, well, I don't know. It just depends on. I mean, do you want it to just be non-spoilers or
Yeah,
no
non-spoiler,
spoilers?
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk about it another time. We could review that film one day.
Yeah.
If you're interested, we could do a review on that. Would you have a lot to say
I,
about that?
sup-
Or
I
Cool.
suppose. Yeah. Guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that down the line then. I've got other films I want to watch, but if I can get my hands on, well, it's on Paramount Plus at the moment, but if I can
Oh, is
watch
it?
it again
Okay.
like weeks down the line or a month or two down the line, we could review that one. That might be a decent laugh.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, I don't
Could
want
do
any
that.
spoilers. I know I'm usually don't
Okay.
care about
Cool.
most spoilers, but I don't know. With this, I just want to go into it shocked at the end or not shocked.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, I suppose especially if we're going to actually review it now, I
yeah.
guess then. So yeah.
But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. It's good fun. I like the direction the story goes in. As you've seen it, I guess I can talk about and spoil the bits that I've seen. I like how it starts off as like cops in the city and all that jazz, and Harrison Ford's trying to look after Samuel and I can't remember the German lady's name, Samuel's mom. Um, I like how it's not just all that though. There's the corruption with the police. That sergeant who's on the side of the bloke who murdered that other police officer, and they're trying to hunt down Harrison Ford. And he has to stay in the Amish place. And I'm enjoying the art.
Mm,
How the film has changed the storyline from being about cops and crime to being about just Amish life and him bouncing around the Amish community and Where is it? Baltimore that they're at the moment. So yeah, that's nice.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm enjoying the pacing of the film. Characters are a little bit new. Story's good. The dialogue's mostly good. Characters aren't really the best apart from Harrison Ford and the German woman. I don't really find that sergeant and the murderer bloke that interesting. We don't really get much from him. I mean, I'm an hour 10 in. He's in the start and then he has a shootout with Harrison Ford, and that's it. He's not really there. And that sergeant doesn't have much of a presence in the film neither. I know they're a threat, but they don't have much of a presence.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got his other cop. He's got his cop mate, who is a decent character, I suppose. So as far as characters go, it's not really the best, but story's good, writing's good. Yeah, just a good film so far. Yeah.
What did you think of the opening scene? Because it was kind of one of those where I'm pretty sure it was like an opening scene that was quite sort of the camera was just focused on the same thing for a while. I think it was quite sort of slow and I mean, I kind of liked the soundtrack, but
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about the opening scene? Do you think it was a bit too long-winded, or did that just
I
one
was,
shot
to be
do it?
honest, I liked it, but it had me thinking, where's Harrison Ford? This film's like has Harrison Ford's name at the start. Why isn't he in this intro? What's going on? Why are we here? What's happening? This is just a bit long winded.
Yeah, I don't know. I've noticed that in a few certain, I guess, older films, they might have like certain shots that I would think go on for too long, and I think why have
Yeah.
you let it go on this for this long? But yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit soft in it, but guess that's just how it is. What's your most recently watched film then, man?
I don't know. I was trying to think. That's the problem. I'm not sure. I don't know if there is one really. That's the thing. I mean, I do want to get watch some more films, but I don't feel like I've watched a film like all the way through or whatever, or really watched one recently. I don't think. I know I said Jurassic Park 3 last time, but that was then. But I don't think there is one really. She's not great, but yeah, I can't think of one. I don't think. Yeah, don't think there is one really, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
that's fair enough then, bro. I guess we can nicely wrap up here. I just want to do a quick sound test. I don't know. I don't know how this sounds with the windsock on. To be honest with you, I want to do a quick sound test. I don't know. Actually, it still sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, it still sounds all right. I mean, you think it sounds all right as well, don't you? You said earlier in before we started.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, I think I watched some Atman videos, and his bloody microphone always has a windsock on. Yeah, I mean, before I start my next video, I guess I could do a few test recordings, see how it sounds with and without a windsock, and go from there. Really.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll help to reduce wind noise, but I don't know. It depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can nicely wrap that one up there. Then, you got any final words or thoughts for this one?
I suppose just that, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, enjoyed this podcast and talking about Green Book and yeah, just doing the usual segments. Yeah.
I was going to say, hopefully soon we can do the Shrek podcast. You know what I'm talking about? The
Oh, yeah.
Shrek memorizing reenactment, which are
Oh, that one. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
I've practiced it a bit, and
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to get to the end, but I think I'm going to be able to give it a good go. To be honest with you,
It is a difficult task. Yeah.
I
Remembering the
mean,
whole script. Yeah.
just because I remembered some character traits and character information about Walter White. One of my mates at work was acting like I had a Rain Man memory, and like I could remember all this stuff. Then he started asking me a load of other questions. I said, I don't know this stuff, man. It's just there's certain things that interest me that I remember, but like I'm
Yeah.
not going to remember every single little thing, I'm not going to be able to count like a bunch of pebbles if you drop them on the floor.
Mm.
without looking at them for a while. But yeah, to be honest, I was reciting it at work to one of my mates when it wasn't busy, and he was like, "Bloody hell, you're getting all this stuff really close." I think I got to the bit where Shrek was talking when Shrek and Donkey first meet, and he was like, "Bloody hell, this is like quite amazing that you're remembering all this stuff."
Oh, that's a fair bit then, isn't it? I think because they don't meet till I don't know, quarter into the film, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
managed to, when I practiced on my own, I managed to get to the bit where Shrek and Donkey are walking through the fields to Duloc, and then he says, "I think maybe he's compensating for something."
Hmm. Yeah.
So I can't remember the conversation leading up to that bit, but then I can remember some of the bits after that. So we'll just have to see how I do. I think I said I allowed myself 5 lives, and George is going to be like the judge of if what I've said hasn't matched up to the script or not. But I know you and George have both said that I need to sing all the songs in the film, so
I was just going to remind you of that. Yeah.
that'll definitely be interesting.
Mm.
Uh, when you get George back for doing that AI meme of you and get me back for laughing at it, you can include some of this the mad dialogue from the Shrek film and the singing.
Mm.
But one big rule is if I get the lyrics wrong, it doesn't count against me. You
Oh
know
yeah, you said yeah.
that
Yeah.
can't, because I honestly I don't remember. I remember All Star quite well. On My Way, I remember quite well. There's that. Oh yeah, I don't give a damn about my bad reputation by Joan Jett. Yeah, I remember a
Mm.
fair bit of that one. I like that song. That's before On My Way. Then there is what's that? There's that love song between Shrek and Fiona when they're like walking around the forest and creating balloons out of animals. Then there's Hallelujah, Hallelujah,
Mm.
Hallelujah. There's that.
Mhm.
And there's
Yeah. Yeah.
they're about to kiss. Then he goes, I
Mm.
thought love was only true in fairy tales. Boom, boom, boom. Oi, man, for someone else and not for me.
Yeah, quite a lot of licensed songs, isn't there, in that
Yeah.
in the
So
film? Yeah.
before I start singing the song, I'm just gonna say, uh, this isn't owned by me. This is owned by credit to X artists. This is just me singing it because Liam and George have made these rules. But if that video goes to waste because of it, then I'm just going to have to. Well, I mean, people sing songs. As long as you don't have the backing track, it's usually fine. As long as you don't have the actual song audio or backing track, it's fine usually, isn't it?
I'd have thought so. I think, yeah.
I mean, I might just look it up on YouTube briefly. I know we meant to end the podcast a few minutes ago, but I'll just look at it briefly. Like, I don't know,
I
cover
suppose,
of
yeah.
All
Just to be
Star.
safe. Yeah.
Let's look that up. Smash Mouth, a melon cover. What's this? Cover of yeah, acoustic cover. So the point is there's covers of that. Cover of I don't know. My point is like at the end of the day, like if people are singing it on YouTube as covers, I'm just singing it without even playing any instruments, just using my voice and not even doing a good impersonation of the song, as I'm not much of a good singer. Should be fine, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd have thought so, yeah. And it's not like I mean, it's not like the video and the stream won't be monetized either, will it? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Thanks for reminding me, Liam. You're sacked for that one. You're sacked for putting the podcast down. How dare you? I haven't brushed my teeth. How dare you? How dare you, Liam?
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
podcast is probably never going to make any money, but hey ho, who knows? Maybe one day it can bring a bit of a bit of dollar in. Sorry, I'll
Mm.
keep grafting at the YouTube. Maybe my game review channel brings in, I don't know, some fans, and they might enjoy what I've got to say about films and all that jazz. But yeah, I've waffled enough. We'll end that one there nicely. Oh wait, hold on. I do this whenever people do well. Actually, I don't mean to keep stretching the podcast out. I just want to give some quick congratulations. Actually, I don't know if I've done it on the. Actually, did I already congratulate your latest video on doing well on the Christmas podcast?
I think so.
Oh, I probably did then. I probably already did because it's been out for has it been out
Yeah.
for a month or two?
The Lego Star Wars 2 one that's been out, since 20th of December. Yeah, it's been over a month now.
I must have done it then on the Christmas special we did. But I'll quickly congratulate George. His latest video has done fairly well. He's done a video talking about Top Gear.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, Top Gear cars have been saved.
Hey everybody, welcome to 10 years of the channel. And so our first video is a bit of a big one. And it's about the Top Gear cars. So they were at the museum. That they've been there for 15 years. And it's closed down recently. And everyone's been wrapped. The Mini.
Yeah, I mean, he picked a good topic, and yeah, fair play, it's done well, and he's made it short and snappy, and hasn't waffled on, just got straight to the point.
Yeah, 4 likes as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, nicely wrap that one up there. Thank you for watching. Take care. Have a good one. Take care. See you later. Bye. Peace.
Yeah.
All the best.